Hello, welcome to the prediction video for UFC on Fox 25. This will be headlined by Kevin Gastelum taking on Chris Weidman in Long Island on July 22nd. So we're just going to jump straight in to the card and start talking about the fights. So the first fight is going to be Jeremy Kennedy versus Kyle Bochniak. Kennedy is 10-0 against Bochniak, who's 7-1. I'm going to pick Kennedy to win by decision. Then there's Lyman Good versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. Good is 19-3 with 9 wins via TKO. And he's only lost via decision. Now, Zaleski dos Santos is 16-5 with 12 wins via TKO, and he's never been TKO'd himself. What can we say about this one? I think dos Santos is going to win this via decision. He only got what can we say? I don't really want to get into this one too much. I'm going to pick dos Santos via decision. Those two on the start of the card, they're not that interesting for me. I'm not sure that we're going to see UFC level fighting from these guys yet. However, then moving on, we have Damian Grabowski against Christian Colombo. Grabowski is 20-4. Colombo is 8-2-1. Another fight, I don't think that's great. I don't think these guys really belong in the UFC. They're just here due to, shortage on the roster. Colombo to win via TKO. Then we have Shane Burgos, who's 9-0, going up against Godfredo Pepey. Now this is the first fight I'm actually interested in on the card. Pepey's 13-4. He's definitely what I'd consider a UFC veteran. Very well rounded. It's a good test for Burgos, who's a rising star. One that I feel he's ready for. I think Pepey will provide resistance, but Burgos will win via TKO. Then we move on to Tim Johnson versus Junior Albini, another fight that's going to suck. Johnson's 11-3, Albini 13-2. You're probably going to see 15 minutes of two grown men cuddling against the fence if Tim Johnson gets his way. He's like the most handsy drunk ever. I hope Albini actually destroys him. But I just don't see it happening. I think this is 15 minutes. You can go to the bathroom, get something to eat. Tim Johnson's probably going to win this fight decision. Next up, Frankie Perez, 10-3, goes up against Chris Wade, 11-3. This is a rematch of the fight in Ring of Combat in 2014. On that day, Frankie Perez beat Wade via split decision. So obviously the question is which one of these submission artists has made the most improvements. I do think it's a bit of a toss-up, but I think Perez probably wins again via decision. Then we have Corey Anderson versus Tyson Pedro. Corey Anderson is 9-3, Pedro is 6-0, and this is a real test for Pedro. It's a big step up for him. Last time out he beat Andrew Craig, and actually I think he really dominated Craig. We kind of know Corey Anderson's level. He's very good, but he's a notch, a fair notch below the elite in the division. And it's up to Pedro now to prove that he's above Anderson's level. So I think Corey Anderson's going to try and wrestle with him. But Pedro's strong. He's got good hands. And he can also win via submission. I think Pedro is going to be a dark horse to actually get a title shot in 2018. Certainly the light heavyweight division is hotting up. We've got a few young contenders coming through. Ozdemir, Pedro. I'm excited for this. Pedro to win in the first round. Possibly TKO, possibly decision, but I'm giving you a round, so leave me alone. Next up, Rafael Natal against Alessio De Chirico. De Chirico has not had such a good run in the UFC. 1 win via split decision over Gareth McClellan. He's 10-2. He's got 4 wins via TKO, 4 by submission. What can you really say about that? Maybe he's good outside the UFC. Now Natal, 8 wins by submission, 8 by decision. 8 submission, 9 decision, 21-8 and 1 draw. He's lost his last 2. But the last time he lost 2 in a row, he went on a 4-fight win streak. I think that Natal may be going to start something, hopefully another run against De Chirico. Maybe this is the last time we see De Chirico in the octagon. Natal wins by decision. Then we move on to Ryan LaFleur against Alex Oliveira. This is a very, very good match. Now, Ryan LaFleur has only lost once to Damian Maia, of all people, as well. You know, what can you say about a guy who's only lost to Damian Maia? Now, Alex Oliveira, the cowboy, Brazilian cowboy, has won 10 of his 16 matches via TKO. And what do we think? Yeah, I think, you know, from this, there's a lot of decisions in these two boys' history, so I'm going to go with LaFleur via decision. And that brings us around to the main fights of the card. Darren Elkins, the damage, going up against Dennis Bermudez. 16-6 for Bermudez, 15-8 for Elkins. Anybody who saw Darren Elkins' last fight against Mirsad Bektic personifies his name, the damage. And always, you know, when people talk about there's a fighter's chance, don't throw in the towel. I think that fight is the evidence people will use. It's not a great idea, in my opinion. Elkins certainly has the heart of a champion. There's not many guys who have his heart. Actually, I think both of these guys are really experienced and well-rounded fighters as well. They're not just, you know, tough fighters. They're very skilled fighters. I think this is going to be a very frantic affair. And the big question is, can Bermudez hand out more than Elkins can take? I'm not sure that he can. I'm going to go with Darren Elkins via decision. I expect it to be a great match, though. I really do. I would say it could be fight of the night, but I think the co-main event is going to be fight of the night. But before the co-main event, we have a great heavyweight fight. Gene Volante against Patrick Cummins. These two, in my opinion, they're not the elite of the light heavyweight division, but they're definite top 10 guys. Now, Volante is 15-8, 10 wins via TKO, and Cummins is 9-4, and all his 4 losses are via TKO. So that would, you know, point in the direction of Mr. Volante. However, while Patrick Cummins has lost 4 times via TKO, his last outing against Jan Blachowicz showed what a warrior he is. If he can grab hold of Volante, he could wrestle him, you know, ground and pound him. Maybe make Volante open up, put himself in a bad position, and then I think Cummins will submit him. I think that's the way it goes. I think Cummins is better than Volante, but Volante does have that knockout power, so I wouldn't be surprised either way, but I'm picking Cummins by submission. Then, the fight of the night, like I said, this is, for me, this is one of the great fights that's getting unnoticed or going under the radar in the UFC. And okay, it's a stacked summer coming up, you know, there's certainly a lot of good fights coming up, but Jimmy Riviera, 20 wins, 1 defeat against Thomas Almeida, who is 21-1, 17 of those via TKO. Now, Jimmy Riviera has 14 via decisions. I think this is the first in what's going to be a series of battles between these two guys. I expect them to go back and forth through the years because I think they're going to be around for a long time. You know, both of them have what it takes to be the champion. So I think whatever happens on the night, it's not going to be end of the things, but you have to feel that Almeida has thunder in his hands. You know, 17 TKO victories, you don't see that a lot. especially from someone so young. So I expect Thomas Almeida to win this one. And like I said, fight of the night. I think it's going to be great. And then we get to the main event. And what can we say about Mr. Weidman that has not been said? Or even Kelvin Gastelum for that matter. Something inside me feels that Chris Weidman is a lot older than Kelvin Gastelum. And, you know, he's got 13 wins and 3 defeats, and Gastelum's got 13 wins and 2 defeats. You know, I just feel like Chris Weidman is broken at this point. You know, I'm full of questions about this fight, about the fighters in this fight. Gastelum has looked good, arguably against shot fighters in the middleweight division. He certainly carries more power, KO and knockout power as well. You know, he's beat Nate Marquardt and Tim Kennedy, both great fighters in their day who arguably were past their best when they faced Kelvin. You know, he can level accusation at Chris Weidman. Now, we can also say that, you know, let's go back to Weidman for a minute, you know. 3 TKO losses, you know, in his last 3 outings. The Rockhold one, you know, that fight went on far too long. And the Yoel Romero knockout was devastating. That could have ended his career. And then the Mousasi one, you know, whatever anybody thinks about that Mousasi one, Weidman was rocked, and if that fight continued, Mousasi would have beaten him anyway. Now, if we go back to Weidman's, you know, title run, there's an argument that he beat guys on their way down. Silva's never looked the same since. Machida and Belfort. I mean, even Belfort, when he fought, Weidman didn't look great, you know, and there is question marks about Chris. Okay, Damian Maia he fought, and Damian Maia's really had a career resurgence, but he's gone down a weight class. Now, if Weidman can get hold of Gastelum, he is physically bigger, but Gastelum showed, you know, he's got pretty good strength. He kind of manhandled Tim Kennedy, which really surprised me. Now, I feel that Kelvin needs to stick a move. You know, he needs to use the boxing, he needs to get in and out, and hope that the youth is on his side and the fitness will push him through. Yeah, I think Kelvin's going to win this fight TKO. I don't know that necessarily means that Kelvin is going to go on and beat other guys at this division. I think the guy who is in his prime, let's say, or who's rising towards his prime is Robert Whittaker, and I would love to see a Gastelum Whittaker fight, and I think it would be very interesting to see who would win that fight. But I don't think we're going to learn too much more if he beats Chris Weidman. And if, you know, Chris Weidman does get a victory here, people will just discount it as a, you know, bloated welterweight. I think Gastelum has proven himself to be a relatively good middleweight. I don't think he's proven himself to be a top contender at middleweight. But, you know, it's going to be an interesting night of fights out in Long Island. You know, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that fun stuff.